All right, welcome back. In our last explainer, we went over the absolute essentials of cloud operations. But today we're grabbing our forensic kits and we're going deeper. Welcome to Cloud Scene Investigation, where we're going to tackle the trickier, intermediate challenges of cloud ops and monitoring. So here's our plan of attack. First, we're going to gather all the evidence with logging. Then we'll check the system's live vitals with monitoring. After that, we bring in the specialists for some real performance detective work. And finally, we'll put it all together to build our case for a truly robust operation. Let's get to it. Every single good investigation starts with the evidence. And in the cloud, that evidence is your logs. They're like the digital fingerprints, the witness statements. They create this indisputable record of exactly what happened, when it happened, and who was involved. Okay, case number 1. A third-party security team needs your audit logs, and they need them now in their own system, their own SIEM. Our mission is to get this critical evidence from your cloud project over to their lab in real time without losing a single byte and keeping it all secure. So how do we pull that off? The answer, and this is a really fundamental pattern in Google Cloud, is a log sync. Now, don't just think of it as a tool. It's more like your automated evidence handling procedure. You tell it exactly what kind of evidence to look for, in our case audit logs, and exactly where to send it. And here's that classic super secure pattern in action. See, logs are popping up all over your project. The log sync acts like a bouncer, filtering for just the audit logs we care about and shipping them off to a pub subtopic. Now think of PubSub as a secure, real-time courier service. The security team's system just subscribes to that courier and gets the evidence instantly. It's clean, it's decoupled, and it is rock-solid reliable. And this is where it gets really cool, because the log sync is not a one-trick pony. It's incredibly versatile. Need to keep logs for years for legal reasons? Sync them to cloud storage for cheap, long-term retention. Need to react to a security threat, like right now? Sync those logs to PubSub to automatically trigger a cloud function. Even for your containerized apps on GKE, it all just works. This pattern right here is the cornerstone of a solid logging strategy. Okay, so gathering evidence tells you what happened in the past, but a great detective needs eyes on the scene right now. And that brings us to monitoring, checking the live real-time vital signs of our systems. So let's imagine this scenario. You've got a mission-critical application. Its health is everything. You can't just sit around and wait for it to go down. You need a system that screams for help when it's under stress, way before it becomes a full-blown emergency. Well, that is precisely the job for a cloud monitoring alerting policy. Think of it as your system's own automated intensive care unit monitor. It's constantly watching the heartbeat, the blood pressure, in this case, the CPU, and it sounds the alarm the very moment things go outside the safe zone that you've defined. And the best part? You are in complete control. For this case, we're setting the threshold at 80% CPU usage. But here's the really smart part. It's not going to page you for just a momentary blip. The policy actually waits to see if that high CPU usage sticks around for a full 5 minutes. That way, you know you're being alerted for a genuine problem, not just some random temporary spike. But, before we even worry about CPU, there's a much more fundamental question we have to ask. Is the system even alive? And that's where uptime checks come in. These are super simple, but incredibly powerful. They're just probes constantly pinging your app from all over the globe. They're your first line of defense, asking that one simple question over and over. Is it breathing? Okay, so the alarms are blaring, your monitoring says the patient has a fever. But here's the thing, your logs and metrics, they only tell you that there's a problem, not why. To find the root cause, we've got to call in the specialists, the performance detectives who bring the advanced forensic tools like Trace and Profiler. So now we're staring down two very different, but very common, performance mysteries. The first is a latency problem. A request is just taking forever to get through your system. The second one is an efficiency problem. One of your services is just burning through resources, and they require totally different tools to solve. So this right here is the absolute key takeaway. You have to know which specialist to call. Think of CloudTrace like a GPS tracker you attach to a request. It follows the entire journey through all your different microservices and shows you exactly where it got stuck in traffic. Cloud Profiler, on the other hand, that's the microscope. It looks inside a single service to analyze its code, its very DNA, to see which specific function is causing all the trouble. So for our first mystery, that painfully slow API request, we deploy Cloud Trace. And what it gives you is this beautiful waterfall graph that shows every single hop the request made and exactly how many milliseconds it spent at each stop. That slow request, Trace will show you clear as day that service C took 3 seconds while everything else took 50 milliseconds. Boom, mystery solved. Now for our second mystery, the high CPU usage that only seems to happen in production, we need Cloud Profiler. And this tool is honestly kind of magic. It's brilliant because you can safely run it on your live application with almost no performance impact. It constantly samples your code as it runs, building a map that shows you exactly which functions are the most resource hungry. You can finally find that nasty, inefficient loop that you could never, ever reproduce and test. All right, let's bring it all home. Any single one of these tools is useful, for sure, but a true cloud detective knows how to combine them to build an unbreakable case and, more importantly, a resilient and observable system. So here it is, your complete forensic toolkit. Cloud logging is your evidence logger. It tells you what happened. Cloud monitoring is your live vitals monitor. It tells you what's happening right now. And when you need to know why something is happening, you bring in the specialists. Cloud Trace to find the latency, and Cloud Profiler to optimize the code. We've laid out the tools, the techniques, and the whole mindset of a cloud operations detective. You are now equipped to go way beyond the basics and start tackling those really tough intermediate mysteries. So the only question left is, which case are you gonna crack first?